Hey guys, it's Chris from DSX Machina, and we've got some books to show. These are the print-on-demands um, from Drive-Thru RPG for the new versions of Amethyst. I'm going to go over them really quickly and show you the difference initially between one of these is standard and one of these is the premium, and we'll go through these differences. And these are actually different books, obviously, but I mean the actual insides, there's actually a different layout between the two. Here are the two versions of the core Amethyst Quintessence book. We have the premium version and the standard. This is the revised. This is the original. Ignore, I don't think there's going to be any difference in quality in the cover. It's when you see the pages themselves you'll notice it. First, we'll quickly open up the original. This is the Quintessence one. And there's a few things that you'll notice. Not much there, but obviously we have these big two-page spread outs, which I'm not a huge fan of. It cut a lot of detail out, and these images weren't high enough resolution to really show the kind of detail, so we're no longer doing that. Same thing with these little scraps of paper. They were neat for a while, but I'm removing them. And you'll also notice a lot more when it comes to the illustrations. We'll see some differences. Specifically, we're looking at these races or species, sorry, and you can see some of the differences if you look at the way the illustrations work. Not that one per se, but you'll definitely notice it in reference to that type of illustration, the Gimfin also, and we'll know it once we open up the next book, how the differences are organized. Also, if you look at the quality of the page, this is another good example. If you look at this, and how this looks. This is one big full-page illustration. There's a definitive line there I'm not terribly happy with. But this is a very flat paper. It's a very matte. Quality is pretty thin. This is the standard edition. Same thing with I have these big full-page illustrations, and the reason why is that back at that time we were making faux backgrounds on these images. You can see this faded stuff around it, and now we do layers with transparent background, so we can make it look a bit more slick. So this is an example of, once again, now we're on to chapter 3. So now we're going to move that aside, we're going to look at this one, and I don't know if you can see it, but there is a definitive quality increase in the paper. It's smooth. There's actually a bit of a gloss look to it. I'm not sure if you can actually see it. Yeah, you can see the gloss sheen off of that. And right off the bat, we can see now that image you can see the whole image. It's a proper resolution, and this is also the look on Faction. When we show Faction, you'll see this exact same torn paper cover look. That's the style we're using going forward. Font's been changed to be a bit more legible, and we get into the race species chapter here. Once again, full image spread across, and we'll get to stuff like fade traits. And the Chaperon actually has a lot of texture, so that one's still a full page. But when we get to Damascus, we can see now that background, that little faux background's gone, and now we can actually wrap text around it and make it a lot more professional. So that's one example of the Damascus. And when we go to the Gimfin, same thing. We're actually able to use the text to work around the image, rather than being its own separate entity. This is another one. I kind of like how it kind of moves and almost kind of blocks this little box. I think it's kind of neat. Narrows, once again, same thing. Narrows used to be a full page. Now we get to play with the text wrap. Pegasus, now this is another good example of where we've completely changed how that thing works. It used to be just a full page illustration. We've now split the two illustrations up, put one here, and we've had, once again, text wrapping, which I think is really good. I think it's a neat idea if you don't overdo it, and I think this doesn't terribly intrude. The way I do it, basically, it dominates one frame and only a little bit carries through onto the other frame. Or if it's a top-down image, it's the same thing. And this, we get the tenebrae, another perfect example of what we mean by splitting the image. We have the image here for the face, and then we have this on the other side. This is I don't do a lot of these, but I think it's a unique situation to play with it, to have the text on both sides and have the main character. I think it came to an advantage because she's so narrow and thin that we could play with that. I also made the point that these are chapter breaks, so we're not carrying the sentence through it. This is a new chapter here, this is a new chapter there, so that kind of works. Thailand, the same way, we can do that kind of text wrap. So you can see how Same thing with the Kodiaks. How I think it's just a slightly better polish. And once again, we said the pages are gone. Now we're using these little just purple boxes, which are also going to be, we're going to see those in factions as well. And the other thing, of course, is whether or not we've actually changed the rules. And the answer, of course, is we have. Specifically when we get to the Tekken classes, which is what everyone knows about, because that's how Ultramodern was based out of. Same thing, once again, a lot more text wrapping. I think a bit more of a spit and polish. If we were to compare, once again, pages, you would see a huge difference here. But we go to these classes. We have actually updated these classes so they're in line with what Ultramodern has. In fact, these are more advanced because these have been tweaked based on a lot of feedback from Ultramodern that Ultramodern hasn't had yet. So there's actually a lot more feedback in with these ones. And so yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole book. You can see the differences here. Once again, this is full page illustration, but you can see this background is very kind of covering up and masking the detail on the custodians, where in here we can see the fact that we've removed that background and you can see a lot more detail. We can actually play with the text wrap and you can actually see their legs for one thing. Another thing you'll notice, and this is kind of an exception, it will change as we go on, that these are on the same page. This is page 88 and this is page 80. You'll note, of course, where we've kept the page numbers are different. Page numbers used to be on the side. Now they're on the bottom. That was just a decision we made to, once again, kind of have parity between all the books. It's 406 pages. This one's 403 pages. It's about the same. We didn't throw in the character sheet at the back because those are a pain in the butt to photocopy anyway. And let's be honest, you're just going to download them from the internet. Here we have the two factions. This is the original. This is the 1.0. This is the 2.0. In case you're wondering, yeah, I just destroyed this book recently. But we can see, obviously, there are some differences in the look on the cover. But when we get to some of the chapters, once again, now the style has matched. I guess some people may say they actually prefer this look. I prefer this look for one thing. I think the text, which is weird because there's more spacing in here, but the text is larger here. So I think in the end that this is actually more legible. And then the fonts have, I know some people might say that they actually like the color shifting or the shadow. I was not a terribly huge fan. I thought it was good, but in the end, I think just having it straight and works out for the best. So we can see the layout between these are very, very similar, but more often than not, these are about the same. The layouts are going to be about the same. That being said, page counts are going to be a little different. I think this one's 415 and this one's 461. So yeah, we actually managed to trim about 50 pages off of this, and it has nothing to do with illustrations or content. It's simply getting rid of that massive spacing between the layers. So the text is larger, but we don't have as much spacing. And because, once again, before we did a lot more text wrapping, so as a result, we can make this a lot more efficient. So yeah, we managed to save a lot of pages in this format without compromising the overall quality. In fact, there actually may be more illustrations in here. I think I might have played around with recycling a few images. Not sure about that, but yeah, because I think that illustration, for example, that's not in the old book. So yeah, so there you go. So these are going online today. The premium versions are going online. So there'll be coupons going out for those people who want to order the print-on-demand versions of these books. But to remind people, and you're going to ask, and I'll say the answers in this video. It's also going to be in the update. You're going to say, are these the books that were being sent? And the answer is no. These are print-on-demand. And if somebody wants to buy the print-on-demand books, they can. But if you backed for physical books, those are the offset books that'll show up later. You're more than welcome to acquire a print-on-demand version now and then get the other physical book later. But you are not getting these print-on-demand books as part of a reward. Anyway, so that's it. These are the books, and thank you for listening. And this has been Chris from Deus Ex Machina.